In the beginning, there was chaos. That's the Greek idea of the origin of the universe. And the stories are a way to bring order to the chaos. Prometheus and his myth is at the heart of this.
We wanted to make this season's villain different in that that Oliver created him. When Oliver kills somebody, you don't necessarily get to see the fallout of exactly what happened. We said that there was this person you never saw before in season 1 that he killed, and this sort of like kid who loved his dad, and finds out that this Arrow vigilante killed him. Of course he'd be upset. And then he sort of goes on this 5-year mission along the lines of Oliver to learn how to do all the superhero things he knows how to do, and then sort of enacting his revenge on Oliver, sort of taking away from him what Oliver took away from himself.
Here's the look I've been waiting to see.
Theoretically, he killed Prometheus' father, call it somewhere around episode 4, right? So he obviously couldn't have known that, what he was doing at that point in Starling City was going to have an impact like it's had with Prometheus and created someone of that caliber.
Oliver this season is the mayor, and he's also a superhero. He's the Green Arrow. Adrian Chase / Prometheus came in there and said, "You're not the hero that you think you are."
I'm not gonna let you hurt anyone else. Really. Because so far you haven't been able to do much to stop me. Chase wants to show Oliver that he's a monster. So sometimes to call a monster, you gotta be a monster, right? So I think that's where Chase sees it. He sees inside Oliver. He sees the man that's inside the shell, and I think he's trying to chip away at that.
Who are you? Prometheus.
Did you ever think about why I chose the name Prometheus?
In episode 517, we gave him a little speech about why he picks the name Prometheus, and it had to do with the idea that, that Oliver was this god that sort of decided what would happen in the world, and Prometheus was going to take that power back.
He challenged the omnipotence of the gods. You see, because like you, they play judge, jury, and executioner.
Chase, like Prometheus in Greek mythology, wasn't happy with what Oliver was doing. He wasn't happy with how Oliver was protecting the city. He said, the vision that you have for Star City and your crusade, it's wrong. And I'm gonna stand up. Just as it required, someone like Prometheus to stand up to Zeus in Greek mythology and say, no, you're doing this wrong, I'm gonna do it for Star City. I'm gonna be the one that stands up and pulls the Green Arrow down, pulls Oliver Queen down, because he's not what you think he is.
I'm 10 steps ahead of you, and you haven't even figured out what game we're playing yet.
And the other thing that came from Prometheus and from the Greek mythology was this idea that his name literally means forethinker.
He has leverage. We need some of our own.
It's not gonna work. This guy who seems to be 10 steps ahead.
In ancient Greek, Prometheus means forethought. It means you can see ahead. It means he has a vision of the future. This is in the modern rendition of the character.
Remember, I'm always 10 steps ahead of you.
I understand why he chose the name, but the costume is almost meant to be, a dark, twisted version of Oliver in season 1.
Green Arrow?
No, I'm not Green Arrow.
Prometheus was designed to be the dark mirror to Oliver and show him the consequences of that decision. You can't kill with impunity. You can't kill and think that even if you're killing for the right reasons, there are consequences to that. There is this idea that he is outing Oliver in a sense and showing his true character to the world, and this kind of idea of speaking truth to power.
If you don't kill her, you're gonna watch me snap her neck. Adrian! What is the point of this?
The depth of Prometheus' plan was really astounding to me.
We don't know quite how far he'll go. We think he's like you or me, where he has sort of limitations where like when your family's threatened, you stop and do the right thing.
Why did you make her come here?
His sort of long game of, I'm just gonna go as far as possible, is unsettling that you don't know quite what he's going to do or how far he's going to take things. And that makes him all the more compelling of a villain.
It's not as though we haven't had very, very strong and capable villains. I don't know that we've ever had someone who was willing to go so deep on a cerebral level with Oliver.
So go ahead. Kill me. Let's find out how much more loss you can take.
He is psychological. He's the first real, true psychological villain on the show.
I think that you're one loss away from being destroyed.
For as wonderful and intimate as some of our villains have been in the past, he's the one who literally spent every waking moment of his life finding everything he can know about Oliver Queen and making his mission sort of to ruin his life.
His compassion was completely taken away when Oliver killed his father. After that, there was kind of no hope for Chase other than doing what he ended up doing. After that, his mind was completely set on, this is the man that destroyed my life. I'm going to learn every single thing about him so that I can then use it against him.
I'm not going to kill him. I'm going to make him wish he was dead.
He says this whole plan is not about killing Oliver. He doesn't want his revenge. That's the easy way out. I don't want to kill you. I want you to feel so bad you're thinking about killing yourself. Sure, that's a possibility.
I don't want to do this anymore.
This whole plan is about making him feel the absolute worst he can without dying.
Shutting everything down.
How do you deal with a crazy person like that?
Oliver Queen killed my father. But what started out as vengeance became something else over time. A journey towards self-discovery, you might say. This is my true self. My best self. I suppose I owe Oliver something for helping me find who I truly am.
Chase decided to go down this really dark path of, he's a psychopath. I mean, he honestly, something in him broke, and maybe something we talked a lot about in the room about whether he was broken before his father died, or was he broken after? Was that the trigger?
The relationship between the Green Arrow and Prometheus is mythically fascinating, precisely because the two are equal in terms of mythic powers.
Well, I'm not gonna kill you. If only because that's what you want me to do. But you've done everything I've wanted so far.
Prometheus pushes him to become himself.
I want you to tell me a secret, Oliver. I want you to confess to the one thing that you've been afraid to admit to yourself.
For Oliver, season 5 was all about legacy. And he was looking back and thinking, okay, well, I made this decision to right my father's wrongs, and he did it in a really violent way. He did it with really questionable methods.
Have you thought about the ramifications of your actions? Of actually crossing names off a list of being judge, jury, and executioner?
And so for Oliver, he's looking back and wondering, was it worth it? Was it worth the price that my soul paid and the price that everyone else around him has paid?
What I'm saying is that maybe one day your actions might have some unintended consequences.
I think, that one of the driving tenets of the show from the pilot is when, they're on the raft and Robert says, avenge my sins, and blows his head off. And it's like,
Survive.
that's a lot to put on this previously sort of ne'er-do-well kid. And he sort of has to basically atone for something his father did that he didn't do.
Confess, Oliver. You don't kill because you have to, so why? Why do you do it? Because I wanted to.
We get to that scene in 17 when Chase gets him to confess. He's like, and Oliver's like screaming at him and saying, I liked it. I liked killing those guys. I don't know, you look back at the pilot, he's cracking necks. I mean, I think the reason it resonates and the reason it's so dark is because there's a certain truth to it.
I wanted to! And I liked it!
I think there's a certain kind of thread of darkness and violence in human nature that we've seen throughout human history. And that's why when we get to those moments of those characters confronting each other, it feels real.
I'm gonna put an arrow right through your heart. You do realize how impotent you sound, right? You think this is a game. I don't feel like playing anymore.
You have two characters, because their paths started in very different places, went in completely opposite directions. You have Oliver, who takes the death of his father and finding out that his father wasn't the greatest guy and decides to try to make a better legacy for himself. Whereas Chase, when his father dies, goes down the rabbit hole of destruction and evil.
What's fascinating about Adrian Chase is that he's taken that experience and he's used it to justify this life of revenge and this mission of revenge. And exactly what he's accusing Oliver of doing, he's absolutely done himself.
There is nothing that I've done that compares with you. You murdered your own wife.
Well, it's totally hypocritical, because at the end of the day, Chase's actions are just based on a vendetta. There's nothing, it's all totally personal for him. It's one thing to say Oliver acts as judge, jury, and executioner. It's another thing then to go out killing innocent people.
Chase forces Oliver to reevaluate his relationships. If you kill me, you kill Susan, and she will be as dead as your mother, as Tommy, as Shadow, as Laurel, as your friend Pike here, probably, all dead because of you. I tell him everyone in his life that he touches dies, you know, and it's pretty disheartening for him to hear.
Everyone goes off the path. Everyone believes, you know, the worst in themselves at times. And it requires that team and those people that really know you and know you as the full person for good and for bad to remind you of all the good when all you can see is the bad.
Caring about people, Oliver, that makes you human.
Being human is a luxury I might not get to have. Chase has maybe made him feel that he's stronger with his group. You know, maybe he's stronger with his friends, with the people that love him.
We're your teammates. We're your strength.
You give me strength.
Prometheus' plan may have been to say, all these people you're going to ruin all these people's lives, but ultimately, Oliver being a part of their lives actually gave them the means to sort of continue and sort of move forward in their own lives. And hopefully going forward, we'll see that play out.
You're not finished here. Oh, Jesus.
Prometheus brings Oliver's son William into the fold, and it's almost like the sins of the father are about to be repeated. Everything that happened with Chase and his father, Oliver, and his father, it's just that pattern is only going to be repeated further with William.
Your son has his father back, and he learned exactly who his father was. Just like you learned who your father was right here. On these very same waters.
Chase has said, you know, time and time and time again, that, you know, this is about you killing me. This is about you showing me the type of person that you are. This is about you killing me so that it justifies this lesson and all this body count that I've piled up in order to try to teach you. And Oliver, to the end, refuses.
And Felicity.
No, Adrian!
Chase proves that this was all just, you know, the plan of a madman by pulling the trigger on himself. Because if he had guts, he would admit defeat, and he doesn't.
It's always been the intention to make the show very grounded and make it feel as real as possible. And I think that's really what we've been allowed to build to. And in season 5, I think the reason that all sort of came together was we had so much of the show's own mythology to draw from. And season 5 being such an answer to season 1 and allowing us to kind of go back and think about all that stuff that happened off camera. I mean, the death of this man that inspires this entire season of the show, we never saw, we never knew. We didn't even know this guy's name. And yet, it's allowed us to create, in a very grounded and, again, realistic way, this whole other mythology. I think Prometheus has given Oliver a run for his money and changed the way he sees himself and the way he views violence and the way he views his own legacy in a way that will change the show after this for however many more seasons it runs.